Then Joshua summoned the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, and said to them, You have done all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded, and you have obeyed me in everything I commanded. For a long time now, to this very day, you have not deserted your brothers, but have carried out the mission the Lord your God gave you. Now the Lord has given your brothers rest, as he promised. Return to your homes in the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you, on the other side of the Jordan. But be very careful to keep the commandment and the law that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to obey his commands, to hold fast to him, and to serve him with all your heart and all your soul. Then Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their homes. So they finally get to go back to their wives and children and houses and flocks. After 6-ish years, it's hard to say. Caleb gave us a time frame of about 5 or 6 years that had taken from the beginning of the conquest to the time that he got his inheritance. So 5 or 6 years, now these guys can finally go back. To the half tribe of Manasseh, Moses had given land in Bashan, and to the other half of the tribe, Joshua gave land on the west side of the Jordan with their brothers. When Joshua sent them home, he blessed them, saying, Return to your homes with your great wealth, with large herds of livestock, with silver, gold, bronze, and iron, and a great quantity of clothing, and divide with your brothers the plunder from your enemies. So the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh left the Israelites at Shiloh in Canaan to return to Gilead, their own land, which they had acquired in accordance with the command of the Lord through Moses. And apparently, the rest of the other tribes, the other 9.5 tribes, gave them stuff as a parting gift too. Apparently, now it wasn't part of the deal. They weren't doing it for the sake of getting stuff from them, but apparently, as a blessing and as a going away present, the other 9 tribes gave them stuff. When they came to Gilaloth near the Jordan in the land of the Canaan, the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh built an imposing altar there by the Jordan. And when the Israelites heard that they had built the altar on the border of Canaan at Gilaloth near the Jordan on the Israelite side, the whole assembly of Israel gathered at Shiloh to go to war against them. There's trouble in the ranks. The rule breakers are breaking the rules. They're setting up their own worship center away from the tent of meeting, and the Ark of the Covenant, and the tabernacle, and all that. Now what do we do? So the Israelites sent Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, to the land of Gilead. Now I don't know if Eleazar is dead at this point, but we're going to read about his actual death at the end of the book. I don't know if that's already happened, or if he's simply not the acting priest any longer. I don't really know. At any rate, this is Phinehas' son. We read about him back in Numbers when he took the charge against the attempt to seduce Israel by the Midianite and Moabite women in the days of Balaam, son of Peor. Phinehas, remember, was the guy who drove the javelin through the man and woman copulating in the tent in front of the meeting, in front of the sanctuary. So we read about him before. Here he is again. So he's the one who was sent to Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. With him they sent 10 of the chief men, one for each of the tribes of Israel, each the head of a family division among the Israelite clans. When they went to Gilead, to Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh, they said to them, The whole assembly of the Lord says, How could you break faith with the God of Israel like this? How could you turn away from the Lord and build yourselves an altar in rebellion against him now? Was not the sin of Peor enough for us? Remember that? Phinehas was involved in that. He's the one who corrected it, or tried to. He's the one who took up arms against it. Up to this very day we have not cleansed ourselves from that sin, even though a plague fell on the community of the Lord. And now you are turning away from the Lord. If you rebel against the Lord today, tomorrow he will be angry with the whole community of Israel. If the land you possess is defiled, come over to the Lord's land, where the Lord's tabernacle stands, and share the land with us. But do not rebel against the Lord or against us by building an altar for yourselves, other than the altar of the Lord your God. They've already got one altar. They've already got the tabernacle where the Ark of the Covenant is. They're not supposed to have another one. When Achan, son of Zerah, acted unfaithfully regarding the devoted things, remember that was back in the days after Jericho, the conquest of Jericho, did not wrath come upon the whole community of Israel? He was not the only one who died for his sin. So there's already trouble. No sooner do we read about the account of the whole land having rest and everything being fulfilled, than immediately we have trouble. Then Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh replied to the heads of the clans of Israel, "The mighty one, the God, the Lord, the mighty one, God, the Lord, he knows. And let Israel know. If this has been in rebellion, or in disobedience to the Lord, do not spare us this day." So if we did this intentionally, defying the Lord, strike us down where we stand. If we have built our own altar to turn away from the Lord, and to offer burnt offerings and grain offerings, or to sacrifice fellowship offerings on it, may the Lord himself call us to account. No, we did it for fear that someday your descendants might say to ours, "What do you have to do with the Lord, the God of Israel? The Lord has made the Jordan a boundary between us and you. You Reubenites and Gadites, you have no share in the Lord. So your descendants might cause ours to stop fearing the Lord. That is why we said, let us get ready and build an altar, but not for burnt offerings or sacrifices. On the contrary, it is to be a witness between us and you, and the generations that follow, that we will worship the Lord at his sanctuary with our burnt offerings, sacrifices, and fellowship offerings. Then in the future your descendants will not be able to say to ours, you have no share in the Lord." And we said, if they ever say this to us, or to our descendants, we will answer, look at the replica of the Lord's altar, which our fathers built, but not for burnt offerings and sacrifices, but as a witness between us and you. Far be it from us to rebel against the Lord, and turn away from him today, by building an altar for burnt offerings, grain offerings, and sacrifices, other than the altar of the Lord our God that stands before his tabernacle. When Phinehas the priest and the leaders of the community, the heads of the clans of the Israelites, heard what Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh had to say, they were pleased. And Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, said to Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, "Today we know the Lord is with us, because you have not acted unfaithfully toward the Lord in this manner. Now you have rescued the Israelites from the Lord's hand." So if they had waged war against their brothers, they would be sinning against the Lord. Then Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, and the leaders returned to Canaan from their meeting with the Reubenites and Gadites in Gilead, and reported to the Israelites. They were glad to hear the report, and praised God. And they talked no more about going to war against them to devastate the country where the Reubenites and the Gadites lived. And the Reubenites and Gadites gave the altar this name, a witness between us, that the Lord is God. Excuse me. And now to finish off the book of Joshua. Joshua's got to give his farewell address, and he's got to die. After a long time had passed, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and start a new video.